Well, the White House is getting all decked out for the holidays. A 19-foot Douglas fir. For the past 21 years, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of the Greater Sacramento region has chosen kids to be the voices of their campaign. And this year's Boy and Girl of the Year are a symbol of courage and hope. It's what everyone is talking about tonight, so let's get to it. We've got live team coverage. Elizabeth Sarah with how people are dealing with this heat. After a nationwide search and a recruitment process that started back in December, the Regional Transit Board is looking at a new CEO who knows exactly how much he's taking on. And the riders we spoke to tonight are hoping he'll be able to get things back on track. It was standing room only tonight, a packed public discussion on whether or not Elk Grove was ready for a casino to move in next to its long-awaited mall project. From Santa Barbara, Vallejo, and now Marin County, Solana County sheriffs say that the official search will resume in the morning. Meanwhile, volunteers are dedicating their time looking for Pearl, and the big question is, why would somebody do this? This area has gotten nearly a foot of snow just today, and you may not recognize them, but behind all this snow are propane tanks. They're buried in this snowfall tonight, and this is exactly what you don't want to see. People are being urged to take care of their propane tanks, take care of your homes, otherwise things can get dangerous. It's an agonizing time for these families waiting to hear if their loved one is alive, and tonight we're starting to put a face to this tragedy as the names of some of the victims begin to emerge. Well, you knew it was bound to happen. Some Black Friday workers attempt to keep their sanity by doing a mannequin challenge. Check them out, Target employees in Jersey City. In tonight's sports report, what an exciting game. The Aggies are officially headed to their first ever NCAA tournament. But what's really amazing is that half of these passengers actually got back in the air to go skydiving just 15 minutes after they got back to the airport. Wow. So certainly this crash did not stop them.
That is remarkable.
Yeah. As for the suspect, he has not been identified tonight. All we know is that he's a Hispanic man in his early 30s. His exact cause of death will be determined through an autopsy. Now, this family is trying to get Jessica's name on a list at UCSF. She's in need of 2 lungs right now, so we're rooting for her and we're keeping the spirits up. What I love about her is that she is in great spirits tonight. She was smiling all along, rooting on her favorite team, and hopefully tonight's win is going to bring some more good news. The neighborhoods here have been monitoring Dry Creek all day. It hit flood stage just a few hours ago, and we saw some streets and some families evacuating. But one of the places hit hard was this church. Incredible images out of Nevada City tonight. The creek alongside Lefty's Grill rose so rapidly it flooded part of the building. Officials have increased the outflows to the Feather River near the Oroville Dam. The water is expected to rise from 11,000 to 13,000 cubic feet. All right, let's turn things over to Lisa Meadows. We are tracking another wet system coming through here.
Can we get a break, Sharon?
I know, we can't get a break, so
seriously, it's two extreme opposites.
No outdoor plans, at least for the beginning of the week. Well, tonight, away around those skyrocketing prices of prescription drugs, some are looking north to buy life-saving medicine. It took CAL FIRE some time to find the right aircraft. It's an S-2 former military plane. There's only 100 of this model and manufacturer in the world, but they finally located it. They've been working on it for the last 2 months, literally building it from scratch. Those who support speeding up the death penalty process and those who want to get rid of it altogether both agree that the state's current system is broken and something needs to be done. And tonight we wanted to break down Prop 62 and explain why its supporters want to get rid of the death penalty here in California. It's been a rough winter for communities like Soda Spring and here in Cisco Grove. People having to literally dig out of heavy snow, and more snow is on the way, and drivers making their way up to the Sierra this spring are being warned you may see sunshine, but these are still dangerous driving conditions. With the attack on Syria and now a bold move on North Korea, the big question is what happens next? CBS 13's Stacey Cohen has more from Washington. The East Bay has seen dozens of these types of attacks since 2015. Now authorities there want to install a network of cameras, but as Kristen Ayers reports, what they don't have is money. Yahoo Sports is saying as part of the deal, the Kings will receive Tyreek Evans, Buddy Hield, Langston Galloway, and a future first and a future second-round pick. This is actually the party you need to be at tonight. I'm talking about good food, wine, celebrities, NFL players, great music. That's actually Third Eye Blind on the stage right now. But everyone I spoke to tonight said that the real reason they came out is because this is all for a great cause. There were more than 100 people outside of this church tonight, many from the LGBT community. And while it was peaceful for the most part, there was a lot of frustration and emotions were high. Standing in solidarity with the victims of Orlando's mass shooting, dozens gathered outside Verity Baptist Church with a clear message.
It's just not a representation of
the God that I believe in, and I just don't think that we have room for that in Sacramento.
Showing that we have intolerance to this kind of bigotry and hate in this community.
Here's what my thoughts are.
Sacramento pastor Roger Jimenez is standing by his Sunday sermon where he said the people killed in Orlando deserve to die because of their sexual orientation. Words that have sparked emotions and backlash across the country.
I have a gay son and I have gay loved ones. I don't understand that a Christian man can be so hateful.
I felt really affected by what happened in Orlando, and when I heard that a religious leader felt that we should be put in front of a firing squad, I just felt like that was really awful.
While Jimenez says he wasn't trying to incite violence, some of these protesters say that's exactly what he's doing.
God preaches love, and this church is preaching hate. And there's children going into this. What are we doing here?
Meanwhile, churchgoers arriving for Wednesday night Bible study were greeted with words at the door.
Shame on you!
Sacramento Sheriff's deputies lined up around the church to keep the peace, and at one point, Pastor Jimenez made his way out, not addressing media or the crowd. A community coming together during a national tragedy and fighting for love over hate.
We could be mourning our brothers and sisters, our sons, our mothers today. We have to keep that in mind.
We are Orlando!
Now, Pastor Jimenez started this church 5 years ago. It's an independent Baptist church. They did not allow us in tonight, but this story does not end here. A vigil is being held tomorrow in Sacramento, and on Sunday for Sunday's sermon, hundreds are expected, even bigger crowds than tonight. And it's taken Allie's mom weeks to have the courage to speak out. It's been a heart-wrenching experience for her and her family, but she says she wants Allie and those who know about her whereabouts to know she's not giving up.
I would not put this on the worst enemy ever to go through this.
The last 3.5 weeks searching for Allie has been a nightmare for her family.
For a while, I could not eat or sleep because I thought if she's not eating or sleeping, it's not fair for me to do that.
Paula Eade says her and her daughter would stay in close contact, texting all the time. So she knew when the texting stopped, something was wrong.
She's every second of the day. It's, Mom, what are you doing? I miss you, Mom. Let's go out to eat. Let's go do this. And it wasn't happening.
20-year-old Allie Yeoman is a Yuba College student who was working 2 jobs. She was last seen the night of March 30th, leaving a friend's house on Romero Street in Yuba City.
I'm terrified. I'm really terrified because I don't know if she's hurt. I don't know who's hurting her. I don't know what has happened.
Allie's truck was found a few days later down a levee in an orchard stuck in mud. Law enforcement found her cell phone and a single pair of footprints walking away from the truck. You've been silent this entire time. What's making you want to speak out now?
This is me telling her I love her, telling her I miss her. I just want her home.
Do you believe your daughter's alive?
You know, you have this mother intuition, you just can feel it. Like, I do. I believe she's alive.
Allie's mother wouldn't speak on the details of the investigation, but says she's trusting that law enforcement is working diligently to find Allie. Her plea now is to the public.
I just feel that someone knows something. I don't know who that is, and I think they need to come forward.
Now, the reward for any information leading up to Allie's whereabouts is $50,000. Allie's mom says the outpouring of support has kept them strong. They're holding a candlelight vigil for Allie Sunday night at 7:30 near the Starbucks where Allie used to work. She's hoping the community continues to fight for her daughter's safe return. Inside Dignity Health Methodist Hospital of Sacramento,
41-year-old male, chest pain times 5 years. We'll see you in 5.
Clinical coordinator Carlton Hall says he never thought to look for these signs, but now it's part of his normal patient assessment.
Well, we're looking for signs of abuse, signs of guarding, signs of not wanting to answer questions necessarily in front of another person. And if we see that type of behavior, it raises a flag for us.
According to a 2014 report from the Annals of Health Law, 88% of sex trafficking victims end up in ERs and clinics at some point while they're actively being trafficked. Oftentimes, they go to the doctor with their pimp or trafficker posing as a relative.
I was a victim of human trafficking when I was 13. I was kidnapped and trafficked across state borders.
Sawan Vaden of Oak Park was a runaway at the age of 13 and was soon introduced to prostitution in Sacramento. Vaden says she wishes this medical training was around when she was being abused.
And there were times when I went to the hospital and no one thought to ask me a question. Just ask me, are you okay? Can I help you? Something going on? Is he chasing you? I would have been great. I would have loved to have had that.
And now, because we know what to look for.
Sacramento family physician Dr. Ron Chambers says this training will help guide doctors and medical staff to ask the right questions.
There's not many people in the community that interact with a trafficking victim while they're being trafficked. We have that rare opportunity, and so we need to know what to do with it.
Dr. Chambers has been heavily involved in the research and effort to fight human trafficking, which refers to the use of force or coercion to engage victims in sex or labor services against their will. Within the past year, he and others at Dignity Health have helped develop a specialized training that's being rolled out throughout 39 hospitals, aimed at recognizing the telltale signs that he says.
We're seeing patients that we missed in the past, that I can look back in their medical records and I can see that we saw them and we missed it. Or we didn't know the appropriate questions to ask. We didn't know the tattoos to look for.
Tattoos are a warning sign, like a crown over a guy's name in the shoulder and neck region.
Another real common one is something that says daddy's little girl or daddy's princess.
Dr. Chambers says texting at inappropriate times is also very telling.
If you're doing a pelvic exam on a patient and they're texting, in the past I might have thought, well, it's just odd, new generation text all the time, and their pimp may be out in the parking lot and might be telling them, you need to text me every 2 minutes because I need to know what's going on, as a control mechanism.
So this training's actually been really crucial in allowing me to take a step back and really assessing the situation, saying what's going on.
The goal is to train medical staff to approach victims they spot in a way that's safe for the patient and the staff member.
What we want to do is make them aware that they're in control of when and how we intervene. And this is a safe place. They can come back, we can help them today, they can come back tomorrow, they can come back next week, next month, next year.
So we asked, is there a sign that the average person outside a medical office can look for to spot a sex trafficking victim?
If you ever see a young girl with an older gentleman and she's very reserved, she's always just looking straight or looking down. She's not looking around like a normal person would look, you know what I mean? And observing her scenery, she's just straight or down. That's definitely something going on with that.
She says if you see something, say something to authorities.
There are so many women and young girls that get overlooked and go right back into the hands of danger, and to know that that may be prevented, it's awesome.
Now, Dr. Chambers has been speaking at a number of national conventions, pushing to make this a required training at hospitals around the country. He says the real game changer would be to get this into residency programs where doctors are educated early on. What can't be argued is that we have a broken system that does not bode well for victims' families or the state. Tonight, we're going to take a closer look at Proposition 66 and why so many families are fighting to keep the death penalty alive, but want to speed up the process so it doesn't take decades.
It was horrific. There's so much that's missing in my life and in his sister's life and the grandkids.
Michael would have been 29 today if he were still alive, but on May 16th, 1996, he was just 8 years old.
Just a little boy. Innocent, defenseless child.
It's been 20 years since Sandy Friend lost her little boy. Where's Michael? After Robert Rhodes kidnapped him as he was walking home from school in Yuba City.
It was only 2 blocks to our house. And at that time, this individual, this monster, he was registered as a twice convicted sex offender. And he'd been living, born and raised, in our little communities.
Rhodes sexually assaulted and tortured little Michael, stabbing him 60 to 70 times, making sure to keep him alive for 10 hours.
He put a knife in Michael and he twisted it that many times over and over again. My son sat there and pleaded, I'm sure, for him to stop, to let him go home.
For years, in and out of the courtroom, Sandy, her family, and 5 girls fought for justice until finally, Rhodes was sentenced to death.
He is pure evil. And if anybody in this state has any residual thought that the death penalty is inhumane, needs to listen to the true victims.
I've seen these cases, I've met these families. They are the worst of the worst.
Sacramento District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert says the death penalty is reserved for the most egregious crimes, like Michael's murder, but adds with 749 people sitting on death row right now, it's time to mend a broken system.
It shouldn't take 25, 30 years to get through a sentence, because that's a disservice to the victims of those crimes. It's a disservice to the criminal justice system as a whole.
Now, Prop 66 aims to fix the flaws. But how? By shortening the time of appeals that challenge death sentences to a maximum of 5 years by eliminating excessive reviews.
Our goal is to complete the state process within 5 years. Is that a hard and fast rule? Do we think it's going to happen right away? No, but we've got to have some timelines to be able to start somewhere.
The measure expands the pool of available defense lawyers so that every person on death row has counsel assigned faster. Trial courts that know these cases best will handle the initial appeals, and supporters say it will ensure due process by never limiting claims of actual innocence.
Prop 66 is about justice, and it's about carrying out justice within a reasonable length of time.
Supporters of Prop 66 are looking to cut costs for the state and put more money back in your pocket, not by eliminating the death penalty, but by not allowing criminals to sit on death row for 20 to 30 years at the taxpayer's expense. According to the Legislative Analyst's Office, there are added costs with expanding the attorney pool, but the measure could save prison costs in the tens of millions every year. The overall cost savings with Prop 66, though, is unknown. The proposition would also allow condemned inmates to be housed at any state prison and not just in the maximum security San Quentin facility.
There is a sense of finality, a sense that it is truly over when the sentence is carried out, which you don't have with a life sentence.
This is when Rhodes got sentenced to death.
Sandy hopes voters will vote to keep the death penalty alive so that convicts like Rhodes don't just die of old age.
Sitting in a cell, getting fed every day, being warm, going to sleep watching TV, talking to his family. My girls can't talk to Michael. They can't see him. We go to a headstone.
If Prop 62 and Prop 66 both win next month, the one with the most votes would become law.